Welcome back to my KEEPUP channel. Kylian Mbappe looks miserable as France's heartbroken stars return home after coming agonizingly close to retaining the World Cup, as they're greeted to a hero's reception by 50,000 fans in Paris. Didier Deschamps and his side have returned to a hero's welcome in Paris after agonizingly missing out on the World Cup. Twice trailing, initially by 2-0 and then with only minutes remaining in extra time, France took the game to penalties before finally being undone by some Emiliano Martinez brilliance and poor execution. Despite the loss, around 50,000 gathered at the capital's Place de la Concorde to give the players a welcome worthy of them winning the prize, as the squad were offered countless well wishes. Deschamps and Hugo Lloris led the team out in front of thousands of cheering supporters in the center of the city. Kylian Mbappe followed them out, looking slightly more enthused than he had done after stepping off the plane. However, it was telling, when stood alongside his teammates, how significantly less he appeared to be enjoying the whole occasion. There were no tears from the Frenchman on the pitch in Qatar, though he looked furious and totally despondent throughout the post-match formalities. His manager did look to help him raise his arm to wave to the adoring supporters watching on. The pain of Sunday's defeat, barely 24 hours on, had clearly not abated for the young superstar. The rest of the team followed as they wore brave smiles to show appreciation for the thousands that had come out to support them. With Paris currently experiencing unseasonably warm temperatures a little over 10 degrees, supporters headed to the city's largest square, located to the east of the Champs-Élysées. Flares and other pyrotechnics were let off as their heroes waved and joined in the chanting. It marked a joyous return for the players, despite the disappointment of falling at the final hurdle. The French football-watching public have appreciated the work done by Deschamps and his team in the face of mounting problems, including turbulence at the country's national FA, a long list of player injuries and reports of disagreements amongst those within the camp. Those problems were put aside as France came within a few penalty kicks of becoming the first side since Brazil in 1962 to retain football's grandest prize. Deschamps and his players were pictured getting off the plane and onto the tarmac before they headed on to the function on Monday evening. Their families were also photographed emerging from the aircraft. The France head coach, who was bidding to become the first manager ever in World Cup history to win back-to-back trophies, was photographed grinning as he arrived home. Some of his players, including Kylian Mbappe, however, looked less than impressed as they arrived back in a significantly colder than Qatar France. Mbappe, who became the first player since Jeff Hurst in 1966 to score a World Cup final hat-trick and has vowed that France will return, had a look of anguish etched across his face as he looked deep in his own thoughts. His efforts, as miraculous as they had been, were not enough to haul his side over the line. There was little sign of Kolo Muani, who missed a gilt-edged chance in the dying embers of extra time to surely win the World Cup. Olivier Giroud, who alongside Ousmane Dembélé was hauled off unceremoniously before halftime after Deschamps seemingly admitted defeat in his initial team selection, donned a Hawaiian-like neck adornment as he headed for the waiting team coach. The AC Milan forward grinned as he shook hands with one of the airport's staff members on the tarmac. Hugo Lloris, who failed to save a single Argentina penalty in the shootout, led the team towards their waiting transport to take them on alongside Deschamps. Airport staff lined the runway as the players emerged down the steps of the plane. Despite many of the squad having been involved 4 years ago for their triumph in Russia, there appeared a significant number of glum faces as the reality of their defeat appeared to strike home. Their arrival home coincides with criticism of France President Emmanuel Macron for his rather persistent approach to consoling the players after Sunday evening's final. Argentina's players, meanwhile, remained in the air with the team expected to return to Buenos Aires at around 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. A mass of supporters gathered to await their hero's return. The French press was particularly critical of the centrist politician for the way he tried to console Mbappe while he was sprawled on the turf of the Lusail Stadium. As reported by The Times, a political pundit named Mathieu Croissando accused the president of going over the top in his attempts to be involved and of hubris. You could say that Emmanuel Macron listened to his heart and that he is a real football fan, which is true. But it is difficult not to see a form of immoderation, what the Greeks called hubris or a type of all-powerfulness. In the Middle Ages, they called it the royal touch, he said. Macron gave a speech to the players in the dressing room after the defeat, something BFM's anchor Adeline Francois said was awkward owing to the players simply just wanting him to go away. Meanwhile, with Deschamps' future up in the air with his contract set to expire, it was reported by L'Equipe that he wishes to negotiate a contract to remain in charge for the next World Cup should he stay. Source: dailymail.co.uk. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.